Hello and welcome to another episode of Women in Power. Today I present to you Tricia Love Vargas, and she is a spectacular guest because she has really broken through the glass ceiling in Los Angeles by founding LA Style magazine. And I was blessed enough I will be on the cover with some awesome 4 other major powerful women in the July issue. Today we've been filming here at the hangar where my airplane is. We shot all the interior, but I really wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you to my show called Women in Power. Ironically, the episode that the issue that I've been presented with is also her Women in Power issue. So this is such a mutual admiration for each other here. But you are so young. How do you get taken seriously? Like, you show up, your LA Style magazine, and then it's you showing up on the set with all these powerful people and companies. Like, do they think you're the owner?
Not typically, and sometimes I just, roll with that. But other times I do.
Like, you let them think that you're not, or you tell them, or what happens?
I don't necessarily correct everyone all the time, but essentially with me having the title as a publisher, that too, for some companies it's a hired position. So if it just depends who I'm talking to. If it's necessary and I feel it's important, I'll say that it's my company. I have a business partner, but yes, I'm the founder. She's the co-founder. Yeah, but it just inspires me to, to work harder and to continue to produce things in a spirit of excellence, because at the end of the day, how you go about things and how you do things is how people remember you. So yeah, but there's also, there's Forbes 30 under 30, so I'm not on that list per se, but there's other people that are doing great things that are young as well. So I think it depends on, how you really think of life and how you want to go about it.
Yeah, I agree. And so how did you get into fashion, and how did you found a magazine? I mean, that sounds difficult.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, I would say, but the journey for me started back in Florida. I went to school at the Miami International University of Art and Design. I was studying fashion design there.
So this is a childhood passion, or it came later? Like, how did you get into fashion in the first place?
Well, it's definitely I would say...
Did it run in the family?
Yeah, I would say that it ran in the family.
Your mom, she was fashion?
My mother did not end up pursuing fashion. However, it was her desire and her dream. She had applied to FIT in New York. And, my family didn't necessarily come from, great wealth. They, came from Puerto Rico, and they just were the working class. So my mother, not knowing any better, when they rejected her and she submitted her designs, she didn't fight for it and she let it go. But the reason they rejected her is because they didn't necessarily believe that she created the work that she did.
Wow.
They had various people come over and inspect. And so then she just quit?
She was like, that's it, I'm done? Wow.
Yeah, and my grandmother,
So it's in your genes. So now you're going and you're studying, and then what happens?
So then I get a pleasant surprise.
Okay, what was the surprise?
This surprise was about 2.5 months into it, I find out that I am with my beautiful baby boy who I have today. I'm a child. So I was on birth control, and that hence me not having any idea that this was happening. I just thought I had a stomach ache. I tried to go vegan for a little bit, and then I changed one day, and I had I think it was short ribs that were organic, and I thought that that's what it was, but it wasn't that.
It was a surprise.
Yeah, it was a surprise.
How old were you at this time? Early?
I think I was 21, and I gave birth at 22.
Wow.
So yeah.
So were you still in the school?
I was.
Did you finish the school?
I did not.
Okay.
So for me, I always knew that I wanted to have a career in fashion, and it was either LA or New York. And at that time, me and my son's father we decided on Los Angeles. That's where we were going to go and start our lives. One of the interesting things, what people ask me and what I find quite interesting is I didn't stay in Florida because of the fear of being too comfortable. We had family there, and we had a lot of support there.
Wow.
And I knew my vision and my goal was to either be in LA or New York working in fashion.
So now boyfriend, baby daddy supported you in this mission that you're going to come to LA and be a fashion?
Yeah, he was
something?
definitely the breadwinner per se. He was.
So he could move?
Yeah.
With his job?
Yeah.
So then he supports you and you move out to Los Angeles?
Yeah.
And now what? Now you have a newborn baby. How do you get a company?
Yeah, so essentially one of the things my mother always said was to stay relevant in your industry. So I attempted to continue going to school in Los Angeles at at FITM, and I stood in school up until my last. Essentially our finals were December 18th, and I gave birth January 18th. So I wasn't even fitting in the seats.
Wow.
I did maternity leave for a short window, and when I tried to return, it was just too difficult. So I ended up withdrawing. But what I found in being in Los Angeles is that I had a gift in styling and a certain eye for things that people actually, it was a career.
How did you find that gift? When most people would look at that you have to, it's too overwhelming and you have to quit the school or drop out or whatever. Most people, even your mom, would maybe have said, I'm going to throw in the towel. But not you. You said, I found my talent.
Yeah.
What was that?
And I just saw opportunity. I saw Los Angeles as a city that gave me an opportunity to utilize this skill in styling and fashion that I had, and I saw it as an opportunity to be flexible. Like if I can contract and I can find work on my own styling, then I can still be the stay-at-home mom that I have to be.
So what did you do?
So essentially, I developed what was my own freelance styling company, which was Tricia Love, tricialove.com, to get contracted. And about 2 months into it, I'm like, this is a huge city. How are people going to find me? Like, choose Tricia. So I went back to the drawing board, and the company that I ended up, the name that I thought of and what I developed was LA Style House.
I love it.
There we go.
Love that name.
It was LA Style House, was rolling in business, and it was a boutique fashion styling agency turned event production company. So I would go out and I would network and find other stylists in the city and essentially photographers and whatnot, and build my own Rolodex. So when jobs, came in, or when I sought out jobs, if I couldn't do it myself, I could refer them the work.
But did you need money to do this? Because most people think if they're going to start their own company, they need all this money, they need investors, they need to do a whole lot of planning. It seems like you're just hitting the pavement yourself.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you do need some type of plan or some type of support. I was fortunate enough to have my son's father, who was my fiance at the time, who was a breadwinner, so I had that flexibility where I wasn't
weren't trying to pay the bills, but how did you fund this?
So
this
essentially, I purchased a domain, I registered my LLC, I did research, and I did it myself.
Wow.
I built the website, like I watched various YouTube videos and was on the phone with GoDaddy lots of hours. And I just, figured it out.
So now you have LA Style House.
Yeah.
And you're doing events. And so how did you grow from there? And then how do we finally land at now you founded LA Style magazine, which is a big magazine in LA.
So I started, the way that I got a little bit of traction to get clients was that I would go out and do pop-up, like LA Style House, at events that were happening in the city. For example, the Art Walk downtown Los Angeles. So I would participate in them. We were living in a live-work building, high-rise in downtown Los Angeles, and I saw that an opportunity on the rooftop was not being utilized to the maximum that it could. So I approached one of the owners, the primary owner of the building, who was a frequent, people there knew him, and I gave him a proposal. Essentially, at first, it just started with an idea, like, this is my idea, and then he gave me a time for a meeting, and then that's when I put the proposal together. I called a girl that I knew, and we put a presentation. But essentially, when I approached him, I said, you have this rooftop, and it's spectacular, but I don't believe you're using it to its best ability. I would like to produce a pop-up event, an art gallery on the rooftop, and I'll invite the best people to come out, and it'll market your building. We can increase and make sure that all the units are getting leased. And I have a new company, and it's LA Style House, and he knew I did. And I said I would like to market it as well, so it would benefit me, so I could get traction and get clients and continue to build my network. And he said, okay, let's have a meeting. I gave him the presentation a little bit further, and I started doing those events. And at that time, I did one event that was a grand opening for LA Style House, and it was really well received, successful, had 300 people that came to it. So that's when I had the idea and the notion as well to utilize a rooftop, and that I wanted to continue to do it, but I didn't have money to rent it out all the time. So I had to create a win-win for him too. And so about 6 months later, at this point, my son was 1. I started doing these events. He gave me the okay, and it was a 7-month series. Every month we would do it, every third Wednesday of the month. And from there, that's where now we're transitioning into LA Style Magazine. So essentially, once that run happened, I took a little bit of time for family.
Did you make money on that event?
There were sponsorships. So
you didn't make money, but you didn't lose money. You didn't lose money? But you made a whole lot of connections in this point.
Yeah, a whole lot of connections.
Now,
I had like Monster as like a small sponsor that would pay you know.
But are people like tripping over themselves to like give you stuff and get in with you so you can help them at that time?
As far as the like people,
you know, like the people want to be the sponsors or they don't want, you know, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I would pick up the phone, I would call people, I would call restaurants and ask them, hey, do you guys want to market to 300 executives in Los Angeles?
And how
and
did you get the executives there? I mean, does your life just, it's just easy? Like,
No,
you
it
just
took a
ask
lot
people to do things for you and then they do them and it's easy?
It took a lot of work. I would put emails and proposals, and so there
How many people tell you no?
No, I have people that say no.
What do you do when they say no? How do you respond to
A no is never really a no. It's always a maybe, though.
Okay.
So, but I mean, if they say no, okay,
You just
we'll
get
stay in
creative?
touch with you.
Okay.
And then come back maybe a later time.
Have you ever offended someone? They're like, I never want to see you again. You're a pushy broad or something like that?
I've had people say that I'm a bit intense as far as like in the sense of sales if I was selling something, but I don't know.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so what's been the biggest challenge in your life? And then we're going to get back to because we're at the LA Style. What was the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge, man.
Because even the kid, you're 21 and now you're birthing a child and you make it sound easy. You see opportunity on rooftops. And you're just like, we're going to make this happen. We're going to do that. And I'm moving to LA and nothing's going to stop me. I am woman. Hear me roar.
Oh, man. I don't know. I feel
Was it easy?
No,
because
it wasn't.
You can't be
so
the first
hard.
person on this show that says that.
No, it was really, really hard. I sacrificed a lot of time. Yeah. Like I would say the benefit was that my son was so small, so he was still like in a high chair, like, you know, watching the show and eating something. I'm like typing away, you know, and I'm like, so I had that kind of contained a little bit. When he hit like 3 and 4, it was a little bit harder.
Yeah, when they can run off on their own, you're like, I need the leash.
Yeah, I would beg my ex-husband. I'm like,
that's a joke.
Like, can we please send him to preschool? I think he's ready now.
Yeah.
So he can engage with other kids and have fun. Yeah.
Okay, so LA Style, how do you acquire that?
So essentially,
go ahead.
I took some time off after I did that big run of events. I got contracted by a celebrity who wanted to rebrand his fashion line, and I was like, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. Well, I did it. I worked with him for another 7 months.
Is he really famous?
Yeah.
Who?
Cedric the Entertainer.
Oh.
Yeah.
We got a name. That was easy. Okay, go on.
So I helped rebrand his hat line and get it in. He wanted to start a conversation with a department store, so it was setting him up for that. So essentially, after those events and working with Cedric, I was like, I needed, everything happened so quickly, I needed a little bit of time, and I found out my mother was really ill at the time. She's healed today, and it's such a blessing, thank God that she's better, but that was like a really hard blow for me in seeing her. So I went back to Florida and I stood with her for a couple months. The advantage I had with the company title LA Style House is that people would think that it's a really large, corporation on Rodeo Drive, and it has a lot to do with its name association and whatnot. Having a company name and utilizing the city name in it is pretty strong. So. If people emailed me and were inquiring business, I would just say, I'll get back to you. And I was focusing on my mom at that time and her sister who had passed, was passing at that time. So in that time of reflection, I honed in on the fact that I was really good at events, and I also really wanted, I think it was an aha moment for me where I wanted to have a greater impact in the world as opposed to just having like, and I smile because I feel like that may sound a little cliche, but I felt like the events that I was doing in the personal styling or commercial styling was just really like one-on-one, but it wasn't like global, or it wasn't like to a mass audience for me to express what I felt like the purpose of life is, like love and light, like enlightenment and all that. So I wanted a medium that allowed me to do that. So when I come back to Los Angeles after
So that's what you want to give to the world, love and light?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and when I say light, I mean enlightenment.
Yeah. Is that the mission of LA Style?
Yeah.
Through fashion or just?
Through lifestyle. So it's a
Through
luxury lifestyle publication
Okay.
with a heavy focus on fashion, because that leads, like it's LA Style, but that goes into, you know, cars or homes, which I love. We were talking about real estate the other day. So, yeah, so it's that. It's a lifestyle, and that's what Los Angeles is about. So
Do the restaurants around town want you to come over and
that's
write
what I'm setting
articles?
up with. So Andrew, who's here today, and we're going to set up a schedule like that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So I still don't know how you get
still don't
LA
get it,
Style
yeah.
magazine. How do you get LA Style magazine?
So I do some reflection due to the
Okay,
things
okay,
that are
okay,
happening.
okay.
I'm back in LA, and it's been maybe 2 months that I'm heavily focused on reflecting. What am I going to do? What's my purpose? How do I, you know?
Let me guess, you saw an opportunity.
Well, I was reading. I like my spiritual time is like reading the Bible. So I was reading the Bible, talking to God, and I'm like, how do I make this greater impact? How do I share love and light? And in that moment, I felt that, you know, the aha or what dropped in my spirit was LA Style magazine. And I'm like, oh my God. So I start doing research.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah. So I start doing research, and a lot of things that, and I'm a fan, or I look into a lot of like numerology and different things like that. So like numbers and just research and things that I was finding out was just absolutely fascinating. That the magazine was essentially let go, and it was prior to the digital age. The people prior to myself and my business partner Christine, who have it now, they just hadn't done anything with it. And prior to them having it, 2 really large companies bought it, and you know, whatnot. So it was just had gone through a change of hands, and the last person just.
Because when was LA Style founded originally?
Originally, I want to say it was in the 70s. It was at its height in the 80s.
And who blessed some of the covers?
So they did throwbacks issues of Marilyn Monroe and then Elvis Presley, and then they did current features of like Madonna, Naomi Campbell, La Creme de la Creme de Hollywood. Yeah.
So now you're doing your research, you find out the magazine's been let go. How do you get it?
So I called one of my best friends, worked at the University of Miami.
I love how creative you are. I wish that hit me. Go on.
Yeah, so one of my best friends worked at UM in the law department. So granted, I didn't have a lot of capital to go ahead and hire all these lawyers from the beginning, so I did a little bit of work as what I could do and research. And you know, lo and behold, she worked for the president's office there, which is like a big deal at UM. Talked to all the lawyers there and was essentially doing research for me on this and bringing me a little bit up to speed. And they didn't, I don't say that like UM gave me like legal advice, but she helped me do some research on that end. Talked to Christine, who's my business partner today, and essentially we hired a lawyer.
And so you do the paperwork. So you got LA Style. Now how long have you had it?
It's been about 3 years.
And how's it going for you?
It's good. I mean, it's amazing. Our vision with it, first and foremost, was to bring it back in not just an online form, but print, because that's where its history was, and it needed to be reintroduced in a very strong way. So as opposed to just having it on a digital space, I didn't want to limit it there, and I wanted to have those prints so we could be in the hotels, and we could reintroduce it to, you know, like somebody I was talking to the other day that's an ambassador for the Beverly Hills Hotel. He's like, oh my gosh, I used to get this magazine when I was a kid. It used to come to my house, and I'm at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I think they used to carry it. I'm like, they probably did. He's like, you guys should be in there again. I'm like, yes, absolutely. So that's why print is still relevant and important, at least if it's placed in the right places, like hotels or high-end restaurants or jet hangars, where people will, you know, pick it up and look at it. So I forgot what your question was.
Well, you pretty much answered it. It was about getting there to the LA style and how it's going for you.
Oh yeah, how's it going for? So the vision, so that was Reintroducing in Print. The vision for us, I'm happy where we are today. I'm thrilled and honored to be connecting with really inspiring and powerful women such as yourself, who I look up to, and bringing that's what my focus is today, is executing that with excellence, this issue with the, what we're doing. But my vision is for us to have a large media center, for it to be the LA style media center that incorporates different mediums of media, so people can't say that print is irrelevant. Like, that'll just be one portion of it. We'll have a digital space, a facility where
so
people
you're really
come
growing
and
this
engage.
empire into multiple branches. That's amazing. What would your advice be to a young, or either your young self at 21? What would you tell yourself, or some other girl out there that's at that age and maybe a little confused or feel a little lost? And what's the most important thing you think you've learned that you would give them as advice?
I would say to trust yourself. Because if you take the time to really figure out what you want and what you want to do, then trust what your answer is, because you're going to have a lot of people around you. Be careful, don't tell. I've always been an open book, so I would maybe reframe that to not be so open from, the beginning.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I don't, I never tell people until it's already happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I would say trust yourself. Once you've number one, take the time to discover what you really want to do and hone in and understand that you yourself, you're a powerful being. So don't ignore that by all the other distractions. But the only way you could figure that out is if you give yourself time and then listen to that.
That's really great. I'm so excited you were here today. It's been so much fun being on your shoot. I can't wait to see the magazine. It's going to be amazing. And, you're so far ahead of the game, where you're at in life. It's just, I can't wait to see where you take everything. And, if you ever need anything, you can call me.
Thank you.
You've just been really inspiring to me.
Thank you.
So there you have it, another episode of Women in Power. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.